Is weed actually benefiting you on a mental, emotional, physical level? Or is it causing more harm than good? This is a question that I've gotten at least a few times from the people around me, and something that I've honestly questioned for myself a lot over the years. So let's dive into it, because honestly, it could go either way. It really depends on the way that you are using it. Welcome to another episode of Shattering Reality. I am your host, Sabrina Weibel, and on this podcast, we break through common limitations of modern reality and expand your thinking as we delve into topics of quantum physics, spirituality, channeling, and much more. Nothing is off the table here as we work to uncover human behavior and the secret powers of the mind and universe through discussing esoteric and sometimes controversial topics. In today's episode, we talked about how to know when cannabis is truly serving you versus when it is not serving you, the best practices to use cannabis for self-awareness and personal development, what to do if you are misusing it, and how to get into the practices of having a very healthy relationship of using and smoking weed, and the ways in which cannabis can benefit you on that personal development and spiritual level as it is used correctly and effectively as it was meant to. Let's dive right in. Oh my gosh, I wanted to talk about this topic for so long, and it's because I have a very different perspective on it than I've heard from most people. I've heard from a lot of people that cannabis or weed, Miss Mary J, whatever label you want to put on it, is that it's low vibrational, that when you get to a certain frequency or vibration, then weed just stops serving you. I hear from a lot of people that cannabis is very destructive and is like a gateway drug, but I want to share my story and my side and my perspective on things, because as someone who has smoked weed for 7 years now, and I've used it in irresponsible ways and responsible ways, I have a very spiritual perspective as well as personal development perspective on it. I'm very unbiased. And yes, it can be destructive if you use it in a destructive way, but it can also be very beneficial. So let's talk about how to know whether it is helping or hurting you and the key differences of all of that. And I want to start off by sharing where I am coming at from this. I started smoking weed when I was 21, and honestly, I did it because I thought it was cool, because other people were doing it, because I was interested in seeing what it was like. And synchronistically enough, it was not long after that I had some pretty deep and profound spiritual awakenings. And cannabis really helped me to be able to grow through that, because one, I was so much more reflective as I was high. I was able to reflect on my actions, who I was being. I was able to almost like get a different perspective looking at my life while I was under the influence of weed. And I was able to take in what I was experiencing and learning about the reality around me and completely transform my life from this new perspective. And two, I had so many spiritual awakenings after I started smoking because weed made the veil so much more thin. And if you know, you know, I would hear my intuition so loud and clear. And it helped me practice how to get into the quantum, which if you don't know what I'm referring to when I say get into the quantum, or if you want to know exactly how that transformed my life, I'll be sharing that at the end. But I definitely went through phases where weed, like I would just smoke just to smoke. I definitely went through my phases where I smoked to numb things out. I smoked when I was feeling anxious, and it made me feel more anxious by smoking. I've been through cycles of smoking so much where my anxiety got so high and I felt so uncomfortable and restricted in my body because I smoked so much. So I've had my fair share of bad and also great relationships with this. And it's like everything. Like if you work out too much, you're going to atrophy your muscles. Your muscles won't have any space to grow. I know this guy that my friend went to yoga with who literally passed away in the ICU because he worked out so often and did like yoga and hot yoga day after day, workout after workout, where something happened in his body. I forget the exact condition, but his organs were just collapsed, just stopped working. If you eat too much, obviously, it's not going to be great. You're going to gain all this weight. Your body won't have any time to process all of it. Everything has its balance. If, and a big emphasis on the if, you feel called to weed in the first place, because some people genuinely do not feel called to that plant medicine, and that is okay. But this is where I really want to get into, and a big message that I want to share in this episode is that you need to first and foremost develop a very strong relationship with yourself, knowing when your body and your spirit are saying no versus when it is saying yes. Because without that, this is going to be really difficult to know whether or not cannabis is actually benefiting you or if it's hurting you and holding you back, because it very well could be. So let's just drop straight into that. How do you know when your body and spirit are saying no versus when it is saying yes? And every person is different, so pay attention to how this shows up for you. But I will say, for me, when it is not serving me, I know that I have crossed that line when I feel anxious on it or anxious after it. When I am unable to focus, or if my thoughts are bouncing from thing to thing to thing, I'm like, whoa, like I need to slow down. When it is not serving me, I will often have a lot of brain fog, not only during, but more specifically afterwards, the following night, the next day. And this is something that you really need to have great self-awareness around, really paying attention to how you're feeling, what your headspace is like, what your body feels like. Are your muscles tense or are they relaxed? Is your body saying yes or is it saying no? When it's not serving me, it will make me very, very tired. And it's most likely when my nervous system is already overactive. I have noticed for myself, and I lean into my intuition on this, but oftentimes, more often than not, if I am in a very anxious or high emotional state, or my emotions are not so positive and they're very, very strong, I know more often than not, it is not a good time for me to smoke because I'm so unbalanced. Weed is not a crutch for your emotional state. Weed is a tool, and I'll say cannabis is a tool. My spiritual mentor says that the plant itself, plants have frequencies. Plants have consciousness, and she had mentioned that it likes to be referred to as cannabis. It's like more respectable, I believe. I'm such in the habit of saying weed though, so you'll probably hear me going back and forth. But cannabis is meant to be used with intention, with a purpose, not I'm feeling really stressed out and anxious, let me go smoke. When your nervous system is very overactive, when you are in a strong negative emotional state, you need to regulate your emotional state. You need to process your emotions. That's not the time to smoke and get high, because you are also going to be inviting in and amplifying more of the energy that you're in. I noticed for myself that it does not serve me to get really, really high. And I'm going to talk about more about this. I'm going to talk about like the best practices for self-aware weed lovers, the people who feel really called to use the plant medicine and want to use it for their highest selves and their best personal development practices. But it never serves me, never ever in my life has it served me to get stoned, dumb high. I have felt out of control of my body. I have more often than not felt very anxious the following days. And honestly, I feel like it has just messed with my brain chemistry and energy more than anything to get very, very stoned. That's just the same as like getting really, really fucked up on alcohol. For me, it just never serves me. I feel like shit. I throw up. I embarrass myself. And I'm like, damn, that night could have been so great if I had 2 drinks, felt a great buzz, was social. But when you take it that far, again, balance is everything. I also know it's not serving me when I'm doing it just to do it, just out of habit. That's not how you want to use this plant medicine. You want to use cannabis, again, with intention. So if you notice that you are leaning towards grabbing your bowl, grabbing the bong, grabbing the joint, just out of pure habit without even thinking about it, you want to ask yourself, do I actually feel called to smoke right now? Or am I doing this out of habit? Because you don't want to misuse the plant. When you begin to misuse the plant, you lose the beautiful, beautiful effects of the healing nature, the power behind this plant medicine. And I know that it is serving me when I feel that genuine, intuitive pull to it. And again, some people do not feel called to use cannabis at all. Some people feel very called. Some people feel called to use it very seldomly, very seldomly. Everyone is different on their paths, on their journey. And that's the beautiful thing about life, right? When it is serving me, I feel energized. I feel inspired as fuck. More often than not, when I am under the influence of cannabis, I feel lit up. I feel motivated. I feel in the flow. A lot of times I'm noticing that I'm balancing my feminine and masculine energy really well, because when I'm in my day, I'm typically going to the gym. I'm focused on work. I'm having these conversations with people. And so when I do get that ritual, and I do my best to always make it a ritual to sit down and smoke and reflect or plan or work on a project, I'm like tapping into that alpha brainwave state. I am like oozing into my desires, that like fire in my heart. I'm like sitting into that feminine energy and I'm feeling really fucking good. When it is serving me, I notice that I have more clarity, right? When it's not serving me, when I'm overusing it, when I'm using it when I'm not meant to, I feel really confused. I feel, am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? Oh my God, so anxious, right? But when it is serving me, when I'm using it when I am meant to, at the times that I am meant to, at the times that I feel called to, when I'm using it with intention, and intention is so important. I'm going to talk about that next. I have so much more clarity. It's easy for me to tune into my energy and tap into new frequencies very easily. And intention is everything. Cannabis is one of those plant medicines where, you know, like ayahuasca, it just like, if you didn't know, now you know, but it just like takes you on this whole trippy journey of taking you to like the darkest parts of your shadows and then bringing you to the most like ecstasy parts of yourself. I haven't done it, but I've heard lots of stories. Weed, like cannabis, you set your own intention with it. If you set the intention to tap into the frequency of your highest self and to get messages about XYZ, you set that intention, you smoke, puff, like 1 to 2 hits, you relax, and that intention comes to you. That feeling, those ideas, the thought patterns, the emotional state, like it, you begin to embody it. It becomes very easy for you. You can set the intention to, okay, I'm noticing that I'm feeling really stuck and resistant in this area of my life. I'm going to smoke and meditate on it, right? Smoking cannabis, if you do it the right way in a relaxing setting, it lowers your brainwave state. You're able to access the subconscious. You're able to access the divine source, that infinite flow of answers. And those answers of, okay, what is blocking me? It's going to come to the surface. You're going to be like, oh, this is what I need to work through. Oh, this is what I need to focus on. Oh, this is the action step that I need to take. And this is how I can transmute and change and rewire my system to be able to get through this stuck and frustrated area of my life. So always, always, always set an intention. If you decide to smoke some cannabis, and what you do is you just close your eyes, you get all ready, you have it all set up, you close your eyes. You can either send a prayer or just speak it out loud or say it to yourself, write it down, whatever makes you feel the best. And you say what you intend to do in this smoking session. You set the prayer, you write it down, you feel into the energy, and so it is, baby. You smoke, and then you relax into that. Or you start journaling, or you start whatever it is that you're doing in that session. But I highly recommend to not, I feel like cannabis is one of those things that it's not meant to be used when you are out and about. And maybe it's just me. I know everyone is different, but from my experience, cannabis is one of those plant medicines where you're meant to use it and be in your own energy or be in your own space, or at max, be in a smaller group setting with very trusted people where you can really relax into the full consciousness of that you're experiencing with new ideas coming through or breakthroughs or perspectives where you can feel comfortable to either talk or not talk. You know, that kind of vibe that I'm getting at? It has never, I don't think ever served me to smoke and then go out and about to a function or a party or to go grocery shopping, I feel like that is the point where you're misusing it. Because for me, and you can tell me about you, but for me, it's always ended up in me feeling a little paranoid, me being very in my head versus being present. Cannabis is one of those plant medicines where it brings your energy to the headspace. It brings your energy to the consciousness, which is really great for getting those new ideas or having those breakthroughs or reflecting on your past behaviors and what you need to do to change and those personal development things. But because it brings your energy to that headspace, to that consciousness, if you are not in the right setting, you're going to be so in your head. And I've noticed this. I overthink my conversations with people. I can have such a basic ass conversation with somebody and be like, do they think I'm so crazy? Do they think that I'm stupid? Am I even making sense? My energy is so in my head. And that's the point where it feels like it's not serving me. And so be mindful, be very intentional. If you are someone who right now you are misusing it and you feel like you have, I'm going to say a quote unquote addiction because I really don't like using the word addiction. It brings this placebo effect, which creates a stronger bond to the thing from my perspective. But let's say that you have this quote unquote addiction to weed. You want to pull back. You want to step back, but it's this strong habit that you've used either as a coping mechanism or just that you're using way too often. The last thing that I want you to do is to guilt trip yourself. That is how you put yourself into a Chinese finger trap of trapping yourself in the habit of smoking too much and not getting to the healthy balance. Because I promise you, you are able to get to the healthy balance of utilizing cannabis in a very healthy and positive way, but you cannot guilt trip yourself there. If you are beating yourself up of, oh, I smoked again and I wasn't supposed to, or I smoked way too much, or I told myself I wasn't going to smoke today and I did, or I was supposed to be on a detox for 7 days and I broke it on day 3, stop beating yourself up. If you are in that phase of misusing it and you're coming to a healthy balance to it, I want you to let yourself make mistakes, quote unquote mistakes, in smoking too much, in breaking your detox, in smoking when you told yourself you wouldn't. Let yourself make those mistakes and be okay with that. The more you let yourself make those mistakes and you're like, you know what? I am going to trust. Tell yourself, I am going to trust that whatever I do is for my highest good. You will be able to get the value out of over smoking. And the value out of over smoking is often that gained awareness, is often that self-discipline that you get afterwards. Meaning when I went through this and I went through my process of misusing it, treating it with disrespect, smoking all day, every day when I was doing everything and it would cause so much anxiety for myself. When I started to let myself make those mistakes, I would be really high and be like, ugh, I actually don't like this feeling. I would feel the anxiety and be like, ugh, like, I don't want to sit in this. And it's that like, ugh, this doesn't feel good to me feeling that motivates you into that better feeling. But when you guilt trip yourself and you tell yourself, oh, I shouldn't have smoked today. I told myself I wouldn't and I did. That feeling is going to override. It's going to keep you latched into this cycle of this quote unquote addiction. So let yourself fuck up. It's not going to kill you. It'll just make you stoned and make you irritated and make you more anxious at most. And after a while, you just get sick of your own shit. You just get sick of feeling like shit and you want to make the change. You want to be like, oh, I want to feel good. I'm tired. I'm literally doing this to myself. I'm tired of doing this. It's such a lighter way of being able to change out of your habits. If you notice underlying emotions coming up as you don't smoke, that's something that you got to face and work through. And let it be a process. Don't expect yourself to make this overnight change of all of a sudden you're an angel and you use it, the exact times that you're meant to. Let the process be long if it has to. And just trust that you are learning in your own timing. The less you can be hard on yourself with this, the more you can be easeful and you lean into what feels good for you. Because I'm telling you, smoking weed all the time does not always feel good. The more you're going to get into that healthy balance and you're going to feel into the intuitive nudges when it is right for you and when it is not right for you to smoke and utilize this plant medicine. I love using cannabis in the evening time, most often, when I am sitting on my balcony, looking at the stars under the moon, have my journal out. I have some nice music playing, some nice YouTube ambiance in the back, and I just journal about whatever I want. I reflect. I write down new ideas. I just let myself sit and meditate. And honestly, the strongest visions that I have gotten, because weed thins the veil, I have gotten such strong visions of my future, such strong visions of the frequencies that I'm meant to embody and work towards emanating in this lifetime. And there are some periods of my life where I don't feel called to smoke at all. Like months will go by and I'm like, I just don't feel like it. It just doesn't align with me right now. I feel more called to use different tools like meditation or breath work. And then there's other periods of my life where I do feel called to smoke weed very often. And I was doing this combo ceremony, combo and hape. If you're not familiar with those, I won't go into depth, but they are more along the lines of different plant medicines. Combo is more specifically like an animal, like a spiritual animal medicine that helps to detox yourself physically, but also energetically and spiritually. And I did these back to back, combo first, hape second. Hape is a specific type of tobacco plant that you blow up your nose. It sounds kind of intense. It honestly kind of was a little intense, maybe just because it was my first time. But after I did hape, I got so lightheaded and I laid back, and the plant medicine guide woman who was with us, she helped lean me back and she was there with me. And all I saw, I had my eyes open and all I could see were the leaves on the weed plant. All I saw were these like weed plant leaves, like all over like the vision or the field that I was looking at in front of me. And I just felt this very strong intuitive message that yes, I need to keep smoking cannabis. This is aligned with me and I need to speak on it. I need to go public with it. Why? Because I feel like so many people, even just in my circle that I've talked to, has felt bad about themselves for using it, has felt like they shouldn't, has felt like it's not high vibrational for them, or maybe they've had problems misusing it and they know that that doesn't feel aligned, but they still feel called to the plant medicine itself. And I've gone through just in these past few years as I've developed more and more spiritually, and I've gotten even deeper and deeper into my own personal development, I have questioned myself so often of, is weed right for me? Because at times I feel like it is, and at times I feel like it isn't. I see all of these other people, like literally none of my friends smoke. I am the only one that smokes, and it would feel like almost awkward sometimes, especially when I lived with two of my best friends in San Diego. I would step outside on the patio to smoke weed, and they would just be chilling inside, and I would feel like I would judge myself, and I would be fearful of them judging me. And I just had this going so often in my head of judging myself for smoking. And I feel really called to share this message with anyone who resonates with that, because it's actually such a healing and beneficial and spiritual. And oh my God, has it developed me so much personally in so many areas of my life because of my ability to almost like step out of the shoes that I'm in and look at my life from this different perspective and get these divine and higher selves perspectives. Sometimes I literally feel like I am in my higher selves shoes, vessel, body when I smoke. And I'm like hanging around in my house and I'm drinking my kombucha. Like I start to think like her. I start to get messages from her. I literally hear her voice in my head and I'm like, yes, bitch. Like it is a different level of how I'm able to connect with these higher frequencies when I smoke. And again, that is because of the intention that I set. Take note on what feels good for you and what does not feel good to you. Take note on when you feel like it is serving you and when you feel like it is not serving you. Be mindful of when you're picking it up, what times of day you're picking it up, what energy that you were in when you were picking it up, and let yourself have that full permission slip to be experiential with this, to let yourself experiment with what feels good and what doesn't. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to smoke too much. Again, it's weed. It's not like other drugs or plant medicines where if you do too much, it's not going to be good for you. Let yourself feel into what feels good to you and begin to create this very healthy balance with it. Listen to yourself and your intuition. And if you feel called to this beautiful plant medicine of cannabis, you will begin to build a very positive and healing relationship with it, having it be such a powerful tool to benefit you in many, if not all, areas of your life. I'd love to hear how this episode benefited you. So if you're able to leave a comment or review, that would mean so much to me to know that this episode has positively impacted and benefited someone else. If you want to share this episode with a friend, share it with a friend. Let them in on it, because I wish my past self heard this conversation that I just had. It would have saved me so much frustration that I had with myself, and it would have gave me so much more clarity. All right. I love you so much, and stay tuned for the next episode of Shattering Reality.